Welcome to Here to Initiate, a podcast for manifestors, leaning on the concept of human design. We manifestors are 9% of the population, here to initiate, and it is time for us to rise. In this podcast, I, your host, Julia, want to bring a missing link to the marketplace. Having been a mentor and coach since 2018 and learning more and more about being a manifestor myself, I now, with this podcast, want to specifically support manifestors. With my brand Luxury Goddess, which is all about female remembrance, embodiment, and empowerment, I have served thousands of women already, and I now want to specifically support manifestors as well. I invite you to fully step into your peaceful, powerful self as a manifestor. Let's become who we came here to be, shall we? Welcome, powerful manifestor, to this podcast, especially for you. And in this episode, the first one ever, I want to share with you why this podcast will be life-changing for you and why I am the perfect person for it, for the podcast, even though I am no human design expert, meaning I don't have an extensive education in human design. So let's dive right in to honor your precious time and energy windows. So here we go. Welcome. So first of all, why this podcast and why this is perfect for you? The reason being is that, as you know, we are 9% of the population as manifestors, and we are here to initiate. And I personally am a manifestor in human design, so I feel if we all knew about our power, if we all knew how to turn the rage, the anger into peace, if we all knew how to gain the clarity so we can inform and initiate, we would have a very different world. Because what I'm noticing is that there are so many manifesting generators that are very successful, also money-wise and in their business, with their business. But I do actually not see many manifestors or overall non-energy types that are successful. And I don't mean that there are none. I don't mean that I see the ones that are successful, but with just the mentors that I like and like the people in the coaching scene, the coaches and mentors that I resonate with, most of them are manifesting generators. But most of them are even manifesting generators. So they have that manifestor in them, but they have more energy. And what I'm observing is that people who have more energy and because of that are more present or do more, and we haven't quite accessed yet as a society the feminine force in our designs, especially as non-energy types. And so I want to really encourage you with this podcast to know how to be you, specifically with your energy and your energy type, to really access the success, the power, and of course, especially the peace, right? Your alignment, yourself as a manifestor, so that the dynamic gets to change. Because what I really stand for is a new paradigm, and us women creating a new paradigm. I see us as the women of the new paradigm, the trailblazers, the visionaries, the leaders, the rulers, the entrepreneurs of the new paradigm. And for that to become even more natural and to become a new paradigm that is very, very natural, I feel manifestors have to be in that power. We really have to step in that power in owning that we are the ones who are here to initiate and actually do that job. And not to do it because we have to, but to understand how freeing and actually fulfilling it is. And how to access this through peace instead of, rushes of success, addictive patterns of validation, right? So everything that we can see in the old paradigm. So I really want to shift this for us, for me, for you, for all of us, so that we are living in that natural way it's supposed to be. Now, why do I do the podcast even though I don't have an education in human design? First of all, I am a 3-5 in human design. That means I learn everything by doing, by trying it out, by knowing what works good and what doesn't, what works well and what doesn't, and then leading from that, due to all the experiences I made, due to trial and error, right? And so I might not have learned everything like a one line would have, or of course we all can, and I can, but actually I studied it all by asking human design experts and by even writing it all down and even learning it like that. And I live this material like every single day. I look at my son. He's a manifesting generator 1-3, and he lives his design. Like, he is the example for a manifesting generator 1-3. My husband is a generator 5-1. So I see how he lives his design and his strength, and I can actually understand him so much better. And when we were still in a trauma bond, my husband and I, we very much still fought and who was right, because we both have a 5 line. We both have almost the same incarnation cross. He has the one of dominion. I have the one of rulership. So of course that can clash. So again, it's just so helpful to know the human design. And so what I actually want to say is I might not have the education. I might not be the human design expert, and I can learn all the things, right? And I can also have human design experts come in if we want to go deeper into this work together. But what I want to bring forth, and what I feel like no one else can bring forth in this way as I do specifically, is the exploration and the embodiment of the human design type manifestor, right? Because I could have studied all the things about it, I still wouldn't know how to apply it. Or I could be a teacher on it and be another energy type. I wouldn't know how it feels to be a manifestor, but I know how it feels to be a manifestor. I know how it feels to be a manifestor as a child, have all that freaking energy in your body, all that anger coming up, and feeling so misunderstood, and feeling numb because I have to swallow it, feeling numb because I learned how to people please instead of moving anger to alchemizing anger into peace. And I really know how it feels to have these creative purges, these moments of creative rushes and energy coming through, and then kind of like this little mini I don't want to say burnout, because that wouldn't be quite healthy or natural, but really this drop of energy because the creative force moment, the wave is done, right? And I didn't know this before. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Am I eating wrong? And am I sleeping wrong? What am I doing wrong that it's in waves like this? So, and these are just a few examples of why I think it's so helpful for me to serve with this podcast, because I am a manifestor, and I have known now for years that I am, and every year I have stepped forth more and more and more into my design. And the design is the same for all of us manifestors, right? So in this podcast, I will talk about bold moves, being even bolder, be daring even more to say what you have to say, your visions, your great visions, right? To really step into that and really inform and initiate people, right? How to make peace with the fact that people might not, and they might, but they might not, go with you for the long run. because you're here to initiate. An initiation can be just a moment. It can be a certain time, but it can also be that people then are initiated by you and then it's done. The interaction is done. The relationship is done. So that can be a thing. I want to speak about the alignment, peace, and the very, very strong force of the not self, the not alignment piece of the anger, right? So I want to bring all of that forth in this podcast so you have a place to come to where you feel held, where you feel understood, where you feel guided, and most of all, reminded of your power, your strength, and of course, all the vulnerability, the softness, all the feelings, emotions, the sensations that of course you can have and you have, right? I want to speak about more specifically the different profiles you have as a manifestor and what that can mean specifically to you. And then if you're a manifestor like me who has emotional authority, right? Who 50% of humanity has, could be that you also have emotional authority, could also be not, could also you have another authority. But if you do, right, I want to bring that forth too, because being a manifestor already going in cycles and waves, then adding to that the emotional authority, even more waves. This is a very, very feminine way that we're invited to be, right? Because on top of being feminine beings and having the cycle with the menstruation and being attuned to the cycle of the moon, then additional to that, we are going in phases and cycles as manifestors. If you have a 3 line like me, even more so. If you have emotional authority like me, even more so, right? So this is such an amazing invitation to step forth into a feminine, but not just our feminine, but our feminine force. So I'm offering you this podcast with all my heart, and I am very, very proud to present this to you. I really, really did my research on this market, so to speak, and I did not find a specific podcast for manifestors. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's already great people doing work for manifestors, and then I'm so grateful that there is, right? I'm like, there's no elbowing for me. I'm so happy for us to go together and trailblaze the way together and really walk hand in hand. So I'm happy for everything and everyone going forth with their gifts. And I did not find a podcast for manifestors myself in the English language. And I want to be able to speak to everyone on this planet who wants to hear this, who obviously needs to know English. But as this is the language that, unites most of us on this earth, this is what I want to bring forth. So this podcast is here to remind you, to elevate, to give you a lot of strength and power and the confidence and the motivation to go forth with your design, so that instead of, bringing anger into this world, which leads to separation, even in the worst case scenario, wars, even may it be inside, may it be in relationships, may it be in this world, we want to bring forth the most important thing on this earth, peace. And as we are the ones that are here to initiate, we have so much power. We can change this freaking world when we step into this more and more. And that is my goal, that is my belief, and that is my wish for you, and of course also for me, and of course for this whole world. So you are invited. So heartfelt. I extend this invitation out to you. Invite all the manifestors you know to this podcast so that we can be a movement of peace and of peaceful and heartfelt initiatresses, if you say it like this. I'm sending you all the love in my heart. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I can't wait to serve with this podcast and each new episode. If you already know that this podcast is going to be amazing, you can leave a 5-star rating and even a review on Apple for the podcast if you'd like. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave 5 stars. If there's any other platform you're listening on and you can rate I appreciate every rating so we can spread this podcast. Because remember, we're 9%. So we really want to reach every manifestor, as many manifestors as we can, to really unite our power and really serve how we're meant to serve, to feel the soul, to fulfill the soul purpose. Because this way we feel fulfilled too. So let's move. And I invite you to rate. And then if you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and give a thumbs up for this episode on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening today. I can't wait to bring forth all the episodes I'm going to bring. I appreciate you from heart to heart. Yours, Julia. This was today's episode for you as a manifestor in the concept of human design. I hope this episode and whole podcast serves you. And if it does, I invite you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes or rank the podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you listened. And or subscribe, comment, or share, whatever feels right to you. So we can spread this for all manifestors to hear and rise as one. Thank you from one manifestor to another. I deeply appreciate you rising, and I look forward to catch you next time. Always remember, you are here to feel peaceful. You are here to initiate. Remember to always inform peacefully. You are so powerful. I see you. You've got this. From one manifestor to another, yours, Julia.